Welcome back to our coverage of the June 12 Democracy Day celebrations across Nigeria. And of course, this coverage is going to continue looking at the topical issues raised by not just the history around June 12, but as far as the recurring decimal is concerned around the impact of Nigeria's democracy on the overall well-being of a country that is considered the largest democracy on the continent and, of course, the largest black nation in the world, the most populous black nation in the world. We're going to continue our deep dive into the president's speech, looking at some of the items that he has mentioned vis-a-vis the standout comments regarding Nigeria's democracy, the performance of his administration, because he has left a lot of people hanging on May 29 with that absence of a national address. But this one was quite encapsulating of more than just the histrionics of June 12, because he did talk about minimum wage and how soon that proposal will be going to the National Assembly, and I suppose Nigeria's organized labor will have a lot to say about that in the days to come. But of course, let's double down on that and many more from the president's speech this morning, which will bring you some of the highlights in a moment or two. But join us at this moment to help navigate some of the issues raised by the president in his speech is a member of the Media Trust Editorial Board. Madam ZANGO is joining us this morning, rather conveniently or comfortably for him to be a part of this discussion. Good morning to you, madam. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Right.
And, really,
you know, this is one of those moments where you want to have the veterans join the analysis, because they can provide some sort of context that is much needed in these discussions.
Hopefully so.
Rightfully so.
It's another view.
Exactly. But looking at this whole idea around June 12, because it took a while before it caught on. It was something that was favorably celebrated in the southwestern part of the country, because most of these state governments have declared it a public holiday, have immortalized the day and so on and so forth. But eventually, it has now become a national commemoration day, a national holiday where we not only look back at what happened, but we take stock of where we are right now with our democracy and spotlight some of the issues. For you as a Nigerian, looking at June 12, Democracy Day, the president's speech, what are some of your takeaways from the message that we're hearing on this day?
Well, I think to me, to some extent, you found that June 12 is a missed opportunity. In the sense, it represented an opportunity for the nation to come together, because it's still one of the moments where the whole country came together. When you look at the result of that election, and not only the result of the election, who contested. You have somebody from the south and two people from the same religion, and even the two prominent candidates of the presidential having the same religion. But
it was our Muslim ticket before the Muslim tickets.
Actually, it was bought from them. Apparently, but the nation came together and voted for whom they wanted. You remember, Abdullah got more than 58% of the votes against Tofa's 41 point something. And surprisingly, or what really made it even more poignant is the fact that Tofa even lost in his Kano.
Right.
And you find Abdullah getting the majority vote in all the states, virtually in all the sections, regions of the federation, the zones of the federation. Our southwest was clear. Even in the north, he got the majority of states. In the north central, he got the majority of states. In the southeast. So I expected that we leverage on that. And the politicians who came later should have continued along that line. Unfortunately, we didn't, right from the word go, because even the nullification of election was actually, some of them are still being accused of nudging the Babangida administration to do that. So that's why I call it a missed opportunity there. Well, we haven't yet learned that lesson up to now, and because our politicians went back to this, whatever the president said, I think the most important thing to me, he has said it very well, and talking about democracy, it cannot go back at all. But have our politicians changed the attitude? I think that's the biggest challenge that we have in this country now. I don't know whether we need to have a new orientation, maybe a new national orientation agency to target our politicians, maybe to say, look, let's talk in terms of the nation, not in terms of our selfish needs.
Interesting. I like the part where you talk about an orientation agency or maybe a messaging for our elite. But is that something we need an agency to do, or as a people we need to now become even more aware of what roles we need to play to hold government accountable in a democracy? Does it appear that as citizens we truly understand how much power democracy gives to us, and we have deployed it other than just during the regular election cycle?
Apparently, it looks like we haven't. As citizens of this country, because we still believe that whoever gets power can decide what he wants to do, and that's the end of it.
Right.
Yeah, even your local councillor can decide, look, I will not do it. He may not even be sleeping in the constituency. You know, not talk of the chairman of a local government. We have had a situation whereby the governors had to warn the local governments to stay in their locality, not to come to the state capital. And the same way, actually, the last time we had President TINUBU begging the Arewa Consultative Forum leaders, look, tell your governors not to come to Abuja and stay. So you have that situation coming in. So I think the citizens need to know that, look, we have the power to say, yeah, even if we can tolerate you for the period you are supposed to stay constitutionally, we can change you.
Interesting.
You know, it normally becomes strange when you have this somebody spending just one time in office, and you know, Jonathan became a hero just because he said, "Look, I've given up. I'm not going to put a fight on it." So it should have been a normal thing. Trump, Trump just spent 1 year. Jimmy Carter spent one term. So those are the kinds of things.
It's very telling that you're drawing parallels with the United States of America, but because the president also did channel one American president in that particular speech. I'm sure the patriots will not particularly be happy about an American president, in our Democracy Day speech from the president. But of course, the message is the most important part.
Yeah.
And he did talk about how, in the end, our national greatness will not be achieved by traveling the easy road. It can only be achieved by taking the right one. And, he likes to remind Nigerians that it's going to take a lot of sacrifice for us to fix the rot within the system, whether it's the economy, whether it's our politics, whether it's our social fabric, and so on and so forth. Do you think that message is going to resonate with Nigerians? Because when it comes to making sacrifices, it appears that it is the people at the bottom of the pyramid that are expected to do the sacrificing, and the ones at the top can live a different lifestyle.
Actually, I've answered the question. That's what I was going to say. Because you can just take it for... we have a clear-cut example now. Right from May 29 last year, the president declared, look, what you call a removal of subsidy. By June, we had one single foreign exchange market. Things went up, and they keep on going up to now. But the attitude of our leaders has not changed. Now, I was surprised the other day you found very funny. A legislator at House of Representatives sending a letter to his governor thanking him for buying a car for them. A governor buying a car for a representative, and this is somebody who has, the federal government has bought a car worth 140-something million naira. So it does not resonate when you look at it. So the sacrifice is just one way. And at a point you find that if it is me you are asking to always make I will sit down and look, what are you saying? So it's also a justification for me to say, look, if I have a chance, let me also help myself. So by the time I keep on saying that if you want if you own a company or you are a government, you are leading an establishment, if you want the workers to come early, just come earlier than them.
So we're not getting the leadership by example?
No, we are not. Definitely we are not. And that's the major problem with with Nigeria. Take, for example, just drive on the street. You see that by a traffic light, you see somebody, a layman, directing traffic, and people following. But if you allow, everybody will go there and try and cause chaos. So, and Nigeria have gone through various phases. And we have never had a mass riot. Maybe the closest we came was the NSAS. Yeah. So, but it's not that things were rosy for Nigerians, you know.
The president, in his speech, also gave the hint that very soon an executive bill will be transmitted to the National Assembly on what he considered a living wage, based on the agreements that have been reached. It's sounding like some kind of agreement.
Actually, when I was listening, I was surprised that the president, actually, he should have expunged that aspect of the speech, because the Labour, I think it was even a headline yesterday that they could not, even 100,000 naira, they will not accept. As at now, as we are talking, the leadership of the Labour Union, they are in, all of them are in Geneva. So I don't know really how they got...
Is that the president trying to pacify the Labour and also reassure Nigerians that something is in the works?
No, it's not pacifying. There has to be an agreement. The government offered. And the Labour, as far as we are concerned, they have not accepted that. They came out with a figure of 250,000 naira. Government is offering 62,000 naira. The gap is wide. So for the president to come and say, look, I think he may even model the situation, because the Labour may feel that, look, why is he taking us for granted?
Labour would take this in good faith?
No, they may not, because you are looking for 250,000. Somebody offered you 62,000, and you said, okay, I'm going to legislate on it.
Right.
There's no consultation. The whole essence of that tripartite meeting is defeated.
The president also scored himself very high in keeping with the tenets of democracy. He's talked about how they have refused to climb down on the Labour when he called for strike. But some of the things we have seen, creeping back into this administration is the incessant harassment of journalists. We have seen multiple arrests without explanation, detention for several days, and eventual release without explanation. We have also seen the Attorney General attempting to, in a way, describe people taking up, participating in strike as participating in illegal activity. The SGF called them tyrants. Does that suggest? Does that agree, for instance, with the president's statement?
No, to me, even that is quite unnecessary for him to even to mention that, in the sense that we're in democracy. You have the right
which he is enjoying.
It's part of the Constitution. Well, as long as you're going to do things within the ambit of the law, you don't have any problem. So for even the president to say, look, we have not come, why we excited to clamp down on, has it been like that before? No. But you made the point, okay, that side he has done very well according to him, but what of this side? In the last, even about 2 weeks ago, one of an editor-in-chief was virtually abducted. And when you see the circumstances of his act, somebody, they came, knocked on his door, took him, they didn't tell him what he did. Eventually, initially they said it was police from Ebonyi, and later on it was on by Enugu Police Command. And what was the problem? Somebody complained about his what he published about her, And that was it. It's something that, look, we still need to get it right. And ironically, and in the president's speech, he paid glowing tribute to journalists who joined them in the struggle for June 12 and democracy. So I think it's payback time now. I think we shouldn't expect anything less than freedom for the journalists now.
Yeah, with all the expectation built around the president's speech, because clearly he's one of those proponents for June 12 commemorations in the country. And for Nigerian presidents, since the return of democracy, I think the Obasanjo administration enjoyed a lot of goodwill because the military made a hash of things. We had debt forgiveness. It was a new era of development. I mean, a lot was happening globally. So, you know, a lot was really achieved in the first few years since the return of democracy. But looking at what has happened subsequently, most presidents were swimming against, you know, a very heavy tide. Whether it's the Goodluck administration with struggling to remove subsidy, the pushback with Occupy Nigeria, the Buhari days were even tougher, 2 recessions within 2 years. We had a global pandemic, and now President Tinubu has to inherit all of that, and he's swimming against an even bigger tide. Is it almost impossible for him to move Nigerians with any speech he gives at this moment? Is that why his words are, you know, flying over the heads of most people?
Yeah, definitely. Who do you expect to listen to? Any leader whom assume Nigerians have that feeling now, and they may be right in the sense that they have a feeling that the leadership is the cause of their problem, because from one program to another is never in favor of the ordinary Nigerian. And these are the issues which we can simply do there. Take, for example, security. We saw this security deteriorating from the day of the Boko Haram 2009, you can say, and up to now, we still haven't getting to 20 years. And something that started in a minutiae place, Borno said, we didn't arrest it. Now, you find that people are finding, look, if those who are engaged in armed robbery now stop, they go into kidnapping. It's much easier. They ask us to do names so that we control the kidnappers. Kidnappers now shoot videos and display them. So I think the president has a lot on his hand in the sense that he needs to ginger the confidence of Nigerians into the government, that look, government can do it, and he has to show that by example. As at now, not much is being done along that line.
Talking about gingering confidence, in your active days, you worked in some foreign bureaus, which means you have experienced governance or democracy, as it were, in some of the finest nations of the world in terms of democratic practice. What exactly are leaders not doing? Is it that they do not trust that if they communicate truthfully to us, we would understand? Why does it feel like every time they talk to us, they are not saying the truth, they are not giving us complete information, or there's something they are keeping away from us that we have to unravel ourselves? We say subsidy is gone. Somehow we are paying far much more than it used to be. And the government official comes out and say, we will do everything to keep prices where they are, but you were talking about a free market. And the fact that we do whatever it takes to keep these prices at a cap does not suggest that we are paying subsidy. What kind of communication exactly is that? What does it mean, for instance, as we have seen in the president's speech telling us he would transmit an executive bill for an agreed minimum wage, when the optics we are getting is that there is no agreement on the table? What does this attitude, really suggest? Why do we find it extremely difficult to communicate truthfully and openly with our leadership, as we see in some of those countries where you have practiced?
It's a simple. I think the leadership is taking Nigerians for granted. That's the first. You remember just last week, the Prime Minister of UK left an event that's a commemoration of veterans, earlier than he was supposed to. And he had a scheduled interview. And he was taken to task on that. He had to apologize. Do you think such things happening in Nigeria? If somebody, a leader, apologizes to you. Now, take for example now, as we are talking now, 30 people are down under in Niger State because of a collapse of mining pit.
And nobody
Do you hear any story about that? Their governor is outside the country. He has never visited that place. So what kind of leadership do you do?
So when the president says he will never turn his back on us, do you feel Nigerians believe that?
No, they may not even believe that, because, as I say, it's beyond the president. It involves almost all the leaders, from the councillor to the... Now, who do they blame? The Niger State people. Do they blame the president? Do they expect the president to come in and bring bulldozers or excavator to bring those people out? The first
is this one of those conversations about systemic failure where the system is completely
apparently
collapsing?
I'm afraid apparently it may be that we are getting into that, because when you have a leadership that does not have empathy, 30 people down under and nobody bothered. Nobody is bothering about them. This is simple, and the story is not even there. And the first thing they said, now, because of the security situation, we could not do anything. The second thing is that, no, we have taken equipment there. They were not the right equipment we should use. Then that's the end of it. Everybody, maybe they will organize a funeral prayer at the pit side, and the family will forget about that. So I'm giving you this as a clear-cut example of the leadership we have. We need to have orientation, not the president. The president alone cannot do it, because each leader has a responsibility to his constituency. So if you are a councillor, you have a responsibility. If you are a member of House of Reps or Assembly or a governor, you have a responsibility. Even a commissioner, because you, as the Constitution says, you represent certain region. There was, the federal character, state character, whatever. So you are picked from there to represent your people. So you have a responsibility.
Looking at our current political system in the country, whether it's the different elements from the political parties, from the key players, from the political culture that we have in Nigeria, does that inspire optimism in you that we are going to turn a corner soon? Looking at, how deteriorating the situation has become over the past few decades.
Well,
are things getting better?
No, they are not getting better, but they can. Because I believe, as I gave an example, Nigerians, they flow with where the leadership takes them to be. Right. And we have tolerated.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
No, unfortunately, for now it is bad. But it's something that the opposite or the opposite of that may be dangerous for the country. Because if we start resisting our leadership, and they may force themselves into us, then there will be a clash. Now, one big man is traveling, he clears the road. That's, he has security who will clear the road for him. Now, suppose it's unconstitutional, because everybody has the right to that road. So if I resist, there may be a problem. So I think it is for us to look at the leadership to say, look, we have an obedient followership. Let's work according to the law. But now, you can't even predict anything in this country. If a budget is presented, approved by the State Assembly, signed by the governor, you are not sure that it's going to be implemented. And because in the middle, maybe by the budget approved in January, by June, the governor will announce another project. And he has not gone to the assembly to look for another money. I don't know how they do it.
Interesting. When Malan ZANGO was talking about a big man, just in case you're watching from outside the shores of this country, and we have quite a number of you, the Nigerian big man is the one who pretends over the common purse and spends without accountability. Exactly. That's what we call the big man, just for context. But listening to the president this morning and haven't soaked in all that we have endured from May 29 till date, did you think the president missed the opportunity to have spoken to a number of issues as currently endured by Nigerians? And I say this in the context of the fact that just under a week ago, the president denied three leaked letters that appeared to suggest that something tangible is being done about our current state of suffering, whether it is the temporary opening of the borders to bring in a bit more food to make up for the shortages, clearing shortages occasioned by insecurity and flood. You know, to at least force down food prices that are hovering over 40% currently, food inflation. We were thinking that in a way, rather than just disown or discountenance that communication, we would have heard the president today tell us, like he said, and we have always heard, I understand your pain, but beyond understanding,
what are you doing about it?
What do you think he missed the opportunity to tell us? In 60 days, I have ordered that XYZ tons of staples be imported so that we can meet and suppress the shortages and all. We all know how much a basket of tomato costs today. Did you think he missed that opportunity?
No, he didn't miss the opportunity. Unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, because Nigerians are tired of talking. Actually, since he came in, he removed the subsidy. He has been telling us what he's going to do. Practically, nothing much. Clark said, at least, let me just recall simply how many CNG buses they will bring. At least 500. Now getting to 1 year, not a single one.
Over a year.
Over a year, not a single one. So what speech do I require from him?
Do you think he has exhausted or spent all the goodwill Nigerians had for him?
I really wouldn't know, because you see, Nigeria, unfortunately, we work on sentiments. Yeah, he's from my area, he's my area. I don't see anything bad about him. You know, so that's the end of it. And I think that's a major problem. That's what I was talking about, our missed opportunity of June 12. If as Nigerians we can come together and say, look, this is what we want. As a leader, you are going to rule us, bring a manifesto. You know, it was then the end of it. We say, okay, based on your manifesto, we vote for you. At the end of the day, we'll judge you based on that. So I think the president, even if he has not spoken, because they said actions speak louder than words. So he should have said, okay, I wake up in the morning, I see buses running on the street.
He doesn't have to say much.
He doesn't have to say much. I will clap.
So is matching the words with action that really
exactly
matters,
that's the most important thing. Just tell me, since the removal of subsidy, all the promises made, you know, how many tons of grains are coming out, you know, the palliative, people ended up with 2 modules of rice, a family of 5, how many times?
Those who counted. All right, it's been 25 years of traveling down this route, and we've seen all kinds of reforms. We've seen how we have fashioned our own kind of democracy that, in effect, doesn't seem to deliver any kind of dividend for the average Nigerian. Do you think that Nigerians who have called for a review of this system, this democratic practice, are fair in making that call, whether it is about the cost of governance or about our bicameral legislature, about the size of our bureaucracy and all of that? Is it time that we sit down and reevaluate all of this as a component of our democracy?
I think it's time to reevaluate, not to sit down, but at individual level, we sit down and evaluate what we want to do. It's not because I don't believe in talk shops. We have had a constitutional conference, we have whatever you can have. And it's neither in a 6-year presidential term or the short term. It's not the parliamentary. It's how we operate the system. Now, as I said, if we base the choice of our leaders based on their promises. No party has any manifesto. And the president or governor doesn't bother about what the party's manifesto. No one, none of them. So if we can insist as Nigerians, look, we will not vote for A, B, C until we see what he has promised. And at the end of the day, we can say, yeah, you have fulfilled your promises, then we will give you another chance. No, well, because in UK, that what happens. You know, when you do that, at the end of the day, they will even clear all the party. Another party will come in, and that's the end of it. So it's the individual. Now, also as individuals, we will find that we enslave ourselves to the leaders. Every day your wife puts to bed, you go to the leader and say, look, my wife puts to bed, I want to marry off my daughter, or that kind of thing. So you land up early in the morning, either at his house or at his office. You won't even allow him to rest. He won't be able to do the job. So, and our leaders like that, because it means that they have enslaved us, and you cannot do anything without them. So I think first and foremost, Nigerians need to look, is it the way we want our lives to continue? If not, then what can we do? And it's very easy. We can do it because these are people, they have families. The president has family. The councillor has a family. So you know him, you know how he has. So you can easily even say, look, if it is his councillor can ask his daddy, look, go and tell your son is not doing well. Or you call that councillor, I miss you, and say, look, what you are doing, we don't like it. And next time, if you continue this way, you will not be voted. And that's the end of it.
For a lot of analysts, Nigerians have to take ownership of the system. And in doing that, they also have to take their own share of the blame, because the followership has been of poor quality.
Exactly.
Quite docile, quite subservient, taking everything, all the lies, even when they can see right through it on election day, selling votes and so on and so forth. Give me a sense of where you stand with regards to what the president, as a person, is trying to achieve with all the push for local government autonomy, for instance, that he's trying to do. Also, giving the states a lot more control with regards to resources. I mean, the allocations have been quite improved since the removal of fuel subsidy. So a lot more of this focus and anger should be channeled towards the governors, who also are hiding under, you know, the shade of the president to say, oh, it's the federal government that needs to fix it. How much do Nigerians really need to invest their time in trying to take ownership and responsibility for the system that we're not all too pleased with?
Yeah, that's what I've been talking about. I think the president has set us on a path by taking this issue of local government autonomy to the Supreme Court to decide. But you remember during the last constitutional amendment cycle, there was a time when they said, okay, the state assemblies should be autonomous. They couldn't get 2/3 approval. Now, the state assemblies didn't approve that for themselves. Now, just recently, you found that when the governors forum said that, look, we cannot pay 60,000. The next thing is the ALGOM chairman forum also said, queued in and said. So you found that because most of these local government, the bureaucrats or the politicians were appointed by the governors. Now, I think if we can support the president, pressurize the governors and our state assemblies, look, we need autonomy, because that's where the development starts. The Constitution says the primary education, primary health, rural roads are the responsibility of the local government. And if you want the state government to do it, or you want the federal government to come and dig a culvert for you, no, it doesn't follow. So we're right in saying that the ordinary Nigerian must know that he has the power, and they can do it. It's a very easy thing.
All right.